Hi everybody, welcome to Dandelion Cottage. Today is Paper Crafting Saturday and I'm Leslie Watkins. So how is everybody? I hope you're well. Today's going to be a really fun program. I'm going to show you how to make a couple of very simple, basic hinged boxes that anybody can do. And then I'm going to show you how to decorate them. And we've got a lot of really exciting accessories and things to use for decorations. So that will be the fun part at the end. And I'd also like to introduce you to Philippe Petit. And this little guy is a bantam rooster that I rescued the other day. You may have seen it on my Facebook page when I was looking for his home. And I did find his former home, and they had a lot of little roosters. This was one of those orders where they ordered 6 chickens as babies for pets and for eggs. And it turned out that of the 6, 4 of them were roosters. So Philippe and his brother took a little journey, and he was in the middle of the field near the woods. He had been out all night. One of my neighbors was going for a walk, and he started following her and talking to her, and she talked back to him, and they had a wonderful time. And then she called me and said, "Leslie, are you missing one of your chickens?" And she described him to me. I knew it wasn't mine, but I said I'd be right over. So anyway, so I went and I got him, and it turns out he's just a darling chicken. And let me turn him around so you can get his front view. Come here, Philippe. There he is. Okay, you're in camera. There he is, Philippe Petit. So he's gonna keep us company today. So let's get busy. So the little boxes I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you 2 sizes. So here's one size, and here's another. Okay, I can zoom you in a tiny bit. All right, so these are wonderful boxes that can hold all sorts of things. This one measures 5.5 wide by 3 1/4. And it is 1.5 inches deep. Okay, now this one is 3.5 by 2 3/4, and this one is 1 inch deep. All right, and these are wonderful things to learn to make this time of year because we're getting ready for the holidays and gift giving. So, so what they do is they've got a little thumb hole here, a little finger hole, and they hinge open, so you don't have to worry about making 2 separate pieces. It all stays together. In this case, I've got 2 lipsticks and a liquid eyeshadow, and if you'd like to know more about those items, I can link that below after I do the video. But they fit perfectly in this one. And then in here, same idea. And in here I have a moisturizing foundation cream. I have some lip gloss, and I have some mascara. So these make terrific gifts or stocking stuffers for the people in your life. The 1.5 inch one also fits a Ferrero Rocher perfectly. Okay, so you could probably fit 2, 4, 6, probably 7 of them in here, give or take. I haven't tried it because right now this is sadly all I have left is one as a sample because I've eaten all the rest. Okay, so that's our basic idea. The other thing I want to mention is that this box is created from a single piece of cardstock, 8.5 by 11, and this one is created from a half sheet. So you can get two from one piece of paper. The decorative paper that I'm using on these boxes is from the Gilded Autumn Suite. So all of the products that I'm going to be using today are available on my online store, and that is at dandelioncottagedesign.com, and you can check out what's there. You can subscribe to my newsletter and find out about my online classes and other events. And I will also list the supplies I use in the description below, but I won't be getting to that until later today after I do the video, so you'll have to come back to see that, and that will give you a direct link to my store. Okay, so then the other things I want to talk with you about are the decorations for the boxes. So what I've done is I've gone ahead of time and I've cut out all of these wonderful shapes, and these are from die sets, and I'll show you what they look like. So I used two. So I used this one called Forever Flourishing, and this has all these amazing leaf shapes that you can cut out. So for instance, look at this fern, is incredible. So when this came out in the annual catalog this year, I was very excited because these are the sort of things that I use over and over again. But the one thing that it was missing that I wished it did have was some kind of berries. So in the holiday mini catalog, this set came out. This is called Poinsettia Dies, and this one actually has a fantastic berry die. So let me show you that one. It's so delicate. It's just so, let me just pop that little bit out. There we go. So look at that. So I'm very, very happy to have that die. And I also used, from this set, I used the tiny flowers. I used one of the centers here, and I used this set. And this is really kind of interesting because it's a two-part die set. So what you have is you have the outline of the shape that you can punch out, but then you also have another die that creates texture. In this case, it makes these little veins on the flowers and gives you something that looks like this. Okay, so you can see all those wonderful shapes. And then the other thing I want to mention is that I have here, and this is going to be kind of hard to tell the difference, but I have two different kinds of copper paper. So this is the brushed metallic cardstock. So this has a beautiful brushed sheen to it, and this is from the copper foil cardstock. So this is very shiny. So there's a very subtle difference between the two, and you can pick which you like best. I wanted to use a combination of both. Now this, the brushed metallic cardstock is very nice because in the package you get three different colors. You get a brushed copper, a brushed gold, and a brushed bronze. So there are some slight differences. And this cardstock is part of the Gilded Autumn Suite. And again, I will link to that below so that you can take a look at it. It's a fantastic suite of products. All right, so I'm just going to put our decorations aside for the moment. I've got a lot of moving pieces on the desk here, so let me do a little housekeeping so nothing gets lost. I only just got this die set, so I haven't had time to put it on my magnetic sheet, so I want to just slip that in here before any of these tiny pieces disappear. The magnetic sheets that I use are like this, and so the dies stick to it really well. And then what I do is I label it with the name of the set and the amount of dies that are in it, and that way I can count each time, make sure everything's on there before I put it away. And while we're talking about these shapes, I do want to mention one more thing. And let's see if I can find it in the catalog here. Hopefully I'll go right to the page. If you don't have a die cutting machine and you're not interested in getting all the dies and so forth, you can substitute them with this specialty paper, and this is called Forever Gold Laser Cut Specialty Paper. It's $15, and you get all of these wonderful shapes. I don't know if you can see this fern is really beautiful. These kind of framed shapes, and you can get all of these. There are 6 sheets, 3 each of 2 single-sided designs. So you can get that and have all the decorations to keep you busy for a long time. So I just wanted to share that with you. I will post that below as well. All right, so you'll need a trimmer, a paper trimmer, and piece of paper. So this is mint macaron, and I'm using both Cajun Craze and mint macaron today. These are the, let me show you this real fast, just so that you can get an idea of what I mean by a suite, because it really is a nice, this is the suite. These are some ideas of what you can do with it. This is what the suite looks like. So a suite includes decorative paper, in this case punches, 3 little punches of leaves. Here is the brushed metallic cardstock. There's some ribbon, and there are some acorn trinkets, and it also comes with a stamp set. In this case it's called Beautiful Autumn, and it looks like that. So what I'm getting at here is that there, along with these decorative papers, is this palette of colors. So the colors that go with it are mint macaron, Cajun Craze, crumb cake, early espresso, and very vanilla. And all of these ribbons, inks, papers, decorative paper, which are called designer series paper, everything coordinates perfectly. So that's why I mentioned mint macaron, because as the project develops, you'll see why that becomes important. All right, so this is 8.5 by 11. I'm going to cut it in half. So I've got 2 pieces of 5.5 by 8.5. And I'm just going to, so this is the cutting blade up here. I better zoom you out a little bit. There we go. So this is the cutting blade, and this is the scoring blade. So now I'm going to use the scoring blade, and I'm just measuring on this side over here. There's a 1-inch mark. So I'm putting the paper on that 1-inch mark, and I'm just going to score all around on 4 sides. Now I need another 1-inch in the center, and this is 8.5. So well, actually what we can do is measure. I'll show you this way. All right, so you can see here that this is 8.5. I'm measuring it here. So half of that would be 4.25. All right, so that would be right in the center. But what I want to do is I want to go 1/2 inch in either direction to create that 1 inch depth. So if I go this way, it's 4 3/4. So I can score there. And if I go the opposite way, it's 3 7/8. Am I going the right way? I'm sorry, not 3 7/8. I have to correct myself. 3 3/4. There we go. Okay, so that way you get a shape that looks like this. And I'm going to snip this. And I'm just going to go along the long side and I'm going to snip up at each of these score lines until I get to that first intersection. I'm going to do that on the opposite side. There we go. So that's the scoring and the cutting, but there's a little bit of finessing that needs to be done. So on these little squarish bits, I'm just going to angle and take a little wedge out. Just like that. Now these longer sides are kept straight. It's just these little tabs that I'm creating these angle cuts. And this is just to help it fold together better so you don't have any little extra pieces sticking out. And that's it for the cutting. Okay, now while we're at it, I'm just going to show you the second box. This time I'm using the Cajun Craze. And for this one, I'm going to be using the full-size sheet. So this is 8.5 by 11. And this time, all I'm going to do, just check this out over here. Okay, hi Abby. All I'm going to do here is score this at 1.5. Okay, so this box is going to be slightly deeper. Get my cutting blade out of the way. And just like the first one, I'm going to go around on all 4 sides at 1.5. Now you can do this with a ruler and a bone folder or some sort of a, I don't know, maybe even a butter knife or something, but it's going to be a lot harder for you to do it. So I really recommend getting one of these trimmers if this is something that you would like to do at home. The trimmers make everything so much easier. So again, to find the center, this is 11. So I know that 5.5 is the middle point, And then what I need to do is I need to go back to 4 3/4, okay, because 3/4 is half of 1.5 inches. So there we go, 4 3/4, and then I can flip it around, and on this side do the same thing. And there is our scored paper. And now I'm going to do exactly as I did on the smaller one. Which is to go all around and then angle cut like so on each of these tabs. Now I'm not going to do this all over again because I already have one made and you don't need to see me do it twice. But I'll just finish this side. Okay, so your two long sides should look like that. Clean that up a little bit. Okay. So let's go back to this little one. Now I'm taking my bone folder and I'm just going to fold and burnish on all of my scored lines. The bone fold, so these are your essential tools, your snips, your bone folder, and your paper trimmer. If you have those things, you have the ability to just go to town on making all of these projects. Okay, so I think you can see that. Now before I assemble this box, I'm going to take the time to decorate the outside. So here is that beautiful Gilded Autumn specialty paper. There are a lot of different designs in here. And they all have this beautiful foiling, metallic foiling on it. Some of it is copper, some of it's more gold. It's all beautiful. I'm going to use this, I think, because I think this scrap is just the right size. Let's see. Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to use that. So this piece measures this is 3 3/8 wide, and I'm going to cut it so that it measures 2 5/8. So here's 2 5/8. And I'm going to, let me think, am I going to do that? These side pieces measure 7/8. So I'll cut a couple of those. But I'm going to have to go back and get a little more, oops, there we go, and get a little more paper. So I don't think I'm going to have enough for all the sides. let's see what this one measures. This is the 7/8 by 2 5/8. Seven-eighths. Wow, if I have just enough, that'll be amazing. Oh, well, no, that's not going to be. It's just a smidge too short. 2 5/8 is here. Okay. Now I'm going to have to get another piece of paper out. I'm going to measure this at 7/8, right there. And 2 5/8. There we go. That looks perfect. Now I can check to see that all these match. So that matches. That matches. Okay, so I've got all my pieces cut out. And but before I glue those on, I'm going to go to the inside of my box. And I have my stamp set. This is the stamp set that comes with the Gilded Autumn Suite, and I'm going to use this one, Beautiful Autumn. I have some mint macaron ink. This matches this paper perfectly. I've got a block, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this leaf design here, which matches the paper, and mount that up. And I'm going to stamp that on the inside of my box so that when the box is opened, you'll see this sweet little leaf on the top and on the bottom. Okay, just like that. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is take my liquid glue, and I'm going to fold these side tabs in. And what you want to do here is just make sure that your corners are nice and square. Okay, so I'm just making sure that that meets up there nicely, and it does. Oops, I forgot to put my designer series paper on. I'll do that next. Jumping ahead of myself. It just makes it a little bit easier to glue it on when it's flat, but I'll be able to do it this way too. All right, now I've got glue on my fingers. I'm making a mess here. I always keep a paper towel or tissue somewhere handy when I'm gluing so I can remove any excess. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to get the top of my box started. So when you're using the liquid glue, it's a great idea. I strongly recommend that you get a glue eraser, which I'll show you at the end when I remove the excess glue. So years ago they used to call this a rubber pickup, because when we would make mechanicals for printing, we would use rubber cement to glue the elements down to the project, and you would use the rubber pickup to remove the excess rubber cement. Well, we don't do that anymore. Everything's done on computers, but the rubber pickup also makes a great glue eraser, so you can get that. And I'm going to take my block and I'm just going to use that to burnish down my top. Okay, now the same thing on the sides. So this is the longer side. Just get that nice and centered. And I think you can see how beautiful the paper picks up the light. I just love this paper. It's beautiful. I also like the color very much. Oh, I just rubbed ink. Okay, here's a tip for you, everybody. Don't rub with your block when you've just used it and you haven't cleaned the ink off. So I just rubbed a little ink in there. There we go. And then finally the sides. And I'm just holding that for a moment for the glue to set and grab the paper in position. All right, so I'll give that another burnish. Make sure everything's in place. Sometimes it can shift a little bit. Okay. All right, so I'm just going to put this aside to dry for the moment. And while that one is drying, I'm going to go back to the one that I made earlier and start to decorate this one. So here's how it looks. And I have these beautiful things. So I'm just going to begin by taking some of these. Now I can give these a little more dimension with my bone folder. So if I can hold that between my thumb and my bone folder and just very gently, you don't want to rip it, but just give it a little bit of a curl. And then fold these petals up. You can give it a really nice three-dimensional shape, and this is going to help capture the light so that when you give it to your recipient, it'll be all beautifully sparkly and shiny. Now I'm going to do the same thing with this other flower, and this is the shinier one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the matte one, which is that one, that's the brushed metallic cardstock, and I'm going to use that as my underlayer, and then I'm going to put this shinier one on the top, and I'm going to offset it. And I'm using a glue dot to hold these together. Let me just get rid of this extra paper. Put that right on the back. Get that where I want it and press it down. So that's what I end up with. So there's one flower. I really like this ferny leaf shape. Now I also have this design. And I think that what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to snip it in half. So I have two. And I don't want to leave out my beautiful berries. And then I want to get some of these. I think I'll save those for the other box. I'll put those to the side. Okay, so let me move this out of the way. Hey Ginger, I see you're on. Nice to see you. Okay, so now for the piece de resistance here, forgive my French, I have a peacock feather. So for those of you who don't know, I have two peacocks, frankincense and myrrh, and every year, this time of year, they molt and they drop all their beautiful feathers, and I carefully collect them every day, and when I've got a big enough of a batch, I put them in the tub and I give them a good wash with gentle soap, and then I sort them and I use them for a variety of projects, and they make fantastic decorations for these boxes. So I'm just going to figure out, I'm going to snip this, make that a little bit shorter. I think I'll do something like that. So let me begin to assemble. So I'm grabbing a glue dot. I'm going to put that right at this juncture here of these fern leaves, and actually I think I'll add a few more glue dots here and there just to make sure that this stays put. In another couple of days, I'm going to be announcing the details for my first annual stamp camp, which is going to be coming up later this month. And one of the products that we'll be using is this Gilded Autumn Suite. And everybody who joins will also be getting some peacock feathers to decorate the boxes with. We're going to make a variety of different projects, but among them will be a box, a very fancy little box. Popped off onto my finger. Get on there. Get yourself stuck on there. All right, I think what I need to do is put it down on here first. Add another one. All right, so now I've got my big pieces on. I'm going to add that large flower. That right there. My peacock feather isn't lying down nicely. Let me get that a little bit flatter. There we go. And I'm going to add my berries that I love. Uh-oh. Philippe just flew over to join us. I think he's going to be on camera in a minute. I'm just folding my glue dot over to make it a little bit smaller. There we go. I think this one could use an extra glue dot. So don't be skimpy with your glue dots. You want to make sure that everything stays together. All right. And then finally, I'm just going to add a couple of these little leaves. Put one on that side. And one on this side. Tuck that underneath there. And I want to grab one more thing, so hang on while I go to my drafting table. I have the gilded gems. I'm going to take one of these larger ones, put that right in the center of my flower. Okay, so there is what I think is a pretty spectacular gift box for someone very special. All right, you can see how beautiful all that foiled paper looks. All right, so that's the Cajun Craze with the brushed metallic cardstock and the copper foil paper. All right, so let's do the other one. Here we go. Now for this one, make sure I'm on screen here so you can see what I'm doing. I want to use these smaller flowers. These are also from that poinsettia set. So I've got six little flowers, and just like I did before, I'm going to just bend them to give them a little bit of dimension. Very gently, they tear easily, so you don't want to damage your flowers. So just very gently curl that around. Okay, here we go. Now this, I want to say this is just the beginning. I mean, the sky is really the limit on this. And if any of you decide to make one of these boxes, I would love to see how you decorate it, because there's just I know there's a lot of very creative people out there, and it would be wonderful to see an assortment of these boxes. What I love about this poinsettia set is that even though it's designed to be a Christmas set, when you just alter the colors, you can see how easily you can change it up for any season. And again, I'm varying the paper. So I've got the shiny paper on top, the foil, and then I've got the brushed paper underneath. Now it's very subtle, and I can perfectly well understand why you may not want to bother doing that, but I just like to do these extra little touches for interest. So it's entirely up to you. Okay, and because this paper has these beautiful long leaves, I'm going to use this one again. Cut that in half, and I'm not sure how many I'll use, but I'll just have a couple ready to go here. And I have a little piece of my berries that also repeats in the motif on the paper. And I'll start with getting the berries on there. And I'm just finding a wider area to place the glue dot. I'll just put that right there. I'm going to give some of these leaves a little bit of a curl. And the same for this one. Oopsie. It's all right. This one over here. And now I'll start adding my flowers. And I'm going to get you zoomed in. I'm going to curl up these petals and push them up against one another so that they have a little more dimension and they become more three-dimensional. And the same one for the third. The same thing for the third. There we go. All right, so now we've got this beautiful little cluster of flowers, and I can take these extra pieces and just tuck them in wherever I need them. So I think I'll put these under here. And I'm going to add one more of these leaves. Now I think, the gilded gems would be pretty, but I think I want to try something else this time. So I have the metallic pearls, which I love, and I also have some more of those somewhere in here. I have the champagne rhinestones, and I think I want to use those. So I'm just adding some of the larger ones to the centers of the flowers, like that. And then I also want to take some of the little ones and add them along the stems of these leaves. Oops, that one got away. Okay. Two more. Let's add two more of these. Now I know this box with all these decorations is really kind of over the top, but seriously, who who wouldn't want to get a gift in a box that looks like that? That's pretty exciting. Oh, I forgot to show you one more thing. So I punched a thumb hole on the boxes. I didn't show you that on the... So let me just go back to this other box that I partially assembled. So what I used was the 1-inch circle punch. Now I think this one may be retired, but I'm sure you can get a circle punch. It doesn't have to be 1 inch. I like the 1-inch size, but I'm just going to give that a little punch like so. And you can see how that looks when you assemble your box. Okay, just makes it a little bit easier. So I know that was a long video today, folks. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope this gave you some ideas. I just love doing these things. I mean, this was really how I got started in paper crafting, was because of my love of making boxes. I don't know what it is. Ever since I was a little kid, I've always loved boxes. But there you have it. Let's see if I can just get this angled up so you can see better. There you go. Stunning. Okay, that's the program for today. Come back later. I'm going to be adding a lot of information down below for these things. And also, please go to Dandelion, oops, wrong button, DandelionCottageDesign.com and subscribe to Notes to find out all about the upcoming stamp camp, where we will be making things like this and having a lot of fun. I'm going to have a bingo game and all sorts of goodies for everybody, so stay tuned for that. And then the other thing I want to remind you is that the free watercolor class, Beautiful Watercolor Note Cards, is coming right up on September 17th, and this is free. Anybody can join, but you do have to register, and you can register for that also through Notes. So go to DandelionCottageDesign.com and go to either the events page or the online classes page, and you'll find all the information. I'd love to have you. Tell your friends. It's going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to be very easy. So if you're just getting started with watercolor, this is the perfect way to do it. So that's all for today. I will say goodbye, but before I go, let's bring Philippe back into the picture here. There he is. All right, so say goodbye, Philippe. We'll see you next time. Stay well, stay happy, and stay creative. And I'll see you hopefully on Monday for Marvelous Monday.